my kid comes into the room today with a figurine of Santa Claus, and I just heard her say under her breath, she went, "Oh yeah, fucking Santa Claus." Still haven't figured out the swearing situation yet, and I am not the best at not swearing, so I will just continue to giggle at her profanity. That's pretty funny. I tried something new this week. I started writing things down I think I wanted to talk about, and man, there's a lot. So I narrowed it down to 4. I figured out why kids are afraid of the dark at 2 years old and think there's monsters everywhere. I'm going to talk about that first. Second, I would like to talk about why adults have temper tantrums. I know that answer too. I think it's important to navigate the world. 3, I would like to talk about something I learned from Inside Out 2. I've seen that movie a lot. Amelia picked it out the other day, and it hit me really hard. And I'd like to talk about that too. How emotions don't shape who you are. How emotions aren't who you are. And last one, thoughts and prayers from a friend who's talked to me. So let's start with kids and why they're afraid of the dark. This is fascinating to me. So I do this talk about in sports when people ask me to come do talks, and I always explain. Everyone's always wondering about mental blocks, why people run through, why they choke at big meets, why they struggle to do the sports things, And the answer is your amygdala is activated. And your amygdala is a small part of your brain that keeps you safe. It's what activates your flight, fight, or freeze response. So when that is going on, everything's scary, right? You run, you flight, you fight, or you fight the thing that's scary, or you freeze. And so that's fascinating. So when you're in that place, what happens is your prefrontal cortex is shut down. And your prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that helps with logical thinking, rational thinking, decision making, like those types of things. So imagine if your amygdala is online, you need to fight, flight, or freeze. You need to keep yourself safe. It's there as a protective mechanism, and your prefrontal cortex just turns off. 1, to save energy, and 2, because your amygdala operates faster. So say you see a snake on the ground, immediately you don't stop and you go, "Oh my gosh, there's a snake. Let me count its stripes to see how poisonous it might be." Because maybe it's not a poisonous snake because I know the little trick to count its stripes. No, you're just going to fucking kick the snake in the face, fight, or run away. It's faster. Your amygdala is faster. It's been around longer in the evolutionary process. And so that's pretty cool. And now that I have a 2-year-old, they are afraid of monsters. She's afraid of monsters. Or most recently, we bought a robot vacuum because we suck at mopping. So we got one to mop upstairs for us when we're asleep. But anyways, she has been saying that the vacuum is going to eat her toes. And then if she eats her toes, it's going to eat her. So anytime it's moving, she says the vacuum is scary, and she's afraid of the vacuum. And we keep saying, "Amelia, no, the vacuum's nice. You can even pat its butt." And we have her walk over and pat its butt. And we tell her it's cleaning the house. It's helping us out. And no, anything we say, fear is still there. I mean, she does tap its butt, but then if it turns around and looks like it's looking at her, boom, flight. She gets her wings and flies away. And so what I've learned, and this is fascinating because I've been giving talks on this, prefrontal cortex amygdala thing, is at 2 years old, the amygdala starts to develop. You have the amygdala, the flight, fight, or freeze response. So everything can look scary, and your imagination is coming online because of that. So with your imagination coming online and your amygdala coming online, those two create these crazy scenarios of magic, I guess. It's kind of like it's like this child magic imagination place that they live in, and it's fucking cool to me. It's so cool because I know about the prefrontal cortex and amygdala and how they operate in terms of mental blocks and things like that. So seeing this is so cool. And at 2 years old, their prefrontal cortex is not online yet. So the amount of rational explanation me and her mom are giving her, it doesn't matter. It's still a scary vacuum. And I don't know, that hit me in a place of like, oh my gosh. For as long as you can remember, everyone's always talking about kids being scared of monsters under their bed or in their closet. I mean, Monsters, Inc. is based entirely off of monsters in the closet, right? This fear that kids have. And I don't know, for me, it's just cool to know why. The why is so fucking cool. It's just like, oh, their amygdala is here. That's so cool, but their prefrontal cortex isn't here yet. So they can't rationalize and understand like what's going on. And the fact that their imagination's coming into play is even cooler to me. I mean, just those, I don't know. Maybe that's the cool part about me being a dad and really into this like mental health stuff and how your brain works and how your body works. I mean, I have my master's in biomechanics. I want to know how things work, and seeing it happen in your child and yeah, it makes you just, all right, this is pretty cool. This is awesome. It's just fun to see. And then I was talking to a friend about adults having temper tantrums and why they freak out, and how everyone just kind of is like, what the fuck is wrong with this adult? They're acting like a child. And with this idea that I've just explained to you, with the amygdala being your protective mechanism, and it operates your flight, fight, or freeze response to keep you safe and protect you, and your prefrontal cortex is the rational side of things, is that when an adult goes into flight, fight, or freeze, and I talk about this again in my talks with mental blocks, that if that amygdala is operated, it sees things as threats that may not be threats. They feel like threats. So if you don't know me very well, I'm very deep into the pole vault world, and what tends to happen is people will run through. They won't take their jump up. They won't plant the pole and bend it to go up and over a bar. They freak out the last second, and then they run through. And what happens a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time, if there's a mental block there, your brain's perceiving pole vault as a threat. This is dangerous. This will hurt. This could kill me. This is not emotionally safe. This is some form of safety is threatened. And your brain tells your body not to do the thing. It will literally tell, your amygdala will literally tell your brain to tell your body that pole vaulting is a threat, and you don't do it. So when people freeze up, or they look like there's something awry has happened, if it's a mental block, it's usually because the amygdala is being activated. And as I said earlier with the kids, when the amygdala is activated, when there's a threat, or when the brain sees something as a threat, the prefrontal cortex is diminished and sometimes even turned off completely, where rational thought and good decision-making skills, it's just not there. Like, that part of your brain is off. So when you see an adult having like a temper tantrum, freaking out, acting like a child, and there's nothing you're saying that's helping them, they're just, it doesn't make any sense. You don't know how they could act this way. They seem out of their mind. That's why. It's because their prefrontal cortex is probably turned off. And this has helped me too. So when it happens with my 2-year-old, I'm like, oh my gosh, you're having a temper tantrum. You have these big emotions and don't know what to do with them yet, right? You haven't been taught. This vacuum isn't going to kill you. I know this. You can't wrap your head around it yet because that part of your brain that understands that isn't there yet. And it helps me kind of be kinder and gentler and want to give her like a hug and help teach her how to do these things in the space she's in now. Like, acknowledge that her feelings are they feel very real. That is real. And then sit with her in it. Give her a safe space. I want to give my daughter a safe space to have these experiences of life, And I've been trying really hard. It's hard when I am also in a flight, fight, or freeze response and my prefrontal cortex isn't being activated. And that's usually like not enough sleep or a lot of stress. And as my son is now 6 months old, he's sleeping more. So that's allowing me to sleep more, which is, I feel like, helping me become more of a parent that I want to be. I'm fighting not to say a better parent. Maybe I'm being the best parent I could, when I did lose my shit a few times. I wish I didn't do that, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I feel like it's becoming better because I understand and I can see it. And so when this is happening in adults, I feel like the same thing happens where you see someone freaking out online, or I get this a lot where I get these emails if a package said it was going to show up in 4 days and then it takes 6 days and they're freaking out on day 5 through an email with all caps, just this passive aggressive kind of bullshit that's sent my way. And I'm like, logically, I know that I handed it to the mailman and there's nothing I can do after that. If it takes a little longer, it takes a little longer. I wish there was more I could do. And I used to get really mad at these people until I realized maybe I don't know. You would expect, I'm fighting with it a little bit too. You would expect an adult to just understand. So as an adult, you can logically explain this, and emails are a little easier. Maybe this is a terrible example, but I guess I've just become a little bit kinder in knowing like, oh, this doesn't match their expectations. They're freaking out like a child. They're literally acting like a child. And it feels like you react instead of respond. And it's hard to respond when your prefrontal cortex is not up to par to where it needs to be. When your rational thinking is lowered. It's easier to just to be a fucking dickhead. That's what I want to say to these people. Yeah, so I usually make them wait an extra day so they calm down a little bit so I can talk to the part of their brain that will talk nicely back to me instead of just be reactive. But anyways, it does help. I feel like I operate better knowing that, oh, this person is acting this way because of this thing. And when I see people freaking out now, or even in public or in the news or whatever else, I'm a lot of times looking at it like they're literally out of their mind in the fact that their mind isn't operating in the way it needs to have rational thought. When people are acting irrational, most of the time I'm like, yeah, this makes sense. Maybe that part of their brain just isn't working, and it maybe gives me a little more compassion for those people. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I was explaining it to my buddy, and he was like, "Huh, I didn't ever knew that." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess that is a thing that a lot of people don't think about or know, like how their own brain works." And he just said, "It'd be nice if more people knew that." And that kind of hit me. I was like, "Yeah, this seems so simple, right? If you're in a stressful flight, fight, or freeze response, your amygdala is activated, your prefrontal cortex is lessened. And so you act a different way." And as an adult and as a kid, and in a mental health hospital, there's a lot of these things that I was taught to bring your prefrontal cortex back online. They called it your wise mind. That's how they explained it 10 years ago, and which is a good way to explaining it. I guess I like the terms more, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, thinking with your wise mind. And if your anxiety is high, which might be from your prefrontal cortex or your amygdala, just flight, fight, or fright, it's sending you these, what is it? Anxiety, like hormones and all sorts of other things, just to push up your stress response, to like make you react. It could be that. But if you can do certain like breaths, like box breathing or mindfulness, or stay in this, be able to get into this flight, fight, or freeze, and then come back to a regulated nervous system, you can respond to the world better. You can respond a lot better. And I guess I'm thinking about this a lot, especially as seeing it through my kids. And it's part of my job to help teach them that. And what's really hard is I feel like I have to be good at it before I can teach them that. And I don't know if that's true anymore. I think that's an old thought or belief that I used to have that is wildly changing, where I don't think I can master this. I don't think anyone can. I think it's one of those chasing an infinity. Like if you're chasing an infinity, it's going to be stressful and hard. It's like if you're chasing money, money never ends. It's an infinity, so you're going to have a bad time. If you're chasing the amount of people follow you on social media, you're going to have a bad time. If you're chasing love is infinite, it feels like. So you're never going to have enough. So I tried not to chase those things. But with this, I feel like if you're chasing mastery, you're going to have a bad time. I look at like Buddhist monks, they're still meditating every single day. It'll never end. But I forgot where I heard this quote, but I really liked it too. But if you're chasing if you're chasing perfection, you could land in excellence. And maybe that's a good way of thinking it. As long as you know that you'll never get to perfection because it doesn't exist. So as a parent, maybe it's better to show your kids the process. You trying, you chasing perfection. I know I wrestle saying that because I don't like perfection. Perfection feels gross and not good anymore. I don't like it, but chasing. I don't like any of this. I think just trying to grow. Maybe that feels better. It's trying to be just a little bit better. And maybe if they see that, they'll just learn from you, and they'll see you, and they'll try and learn and be a little bit better too. I think that's how I'm looking at it. But yeah, that's why that's why kids are afraid of the dark and monsters or vacuum cleaners. And that's why adults act like children. It's because the amygdala is activated and their prefrontal cortex is turned down. Pretty simple. I mean, I'm simplifying it a lot, but if you look this up, there's a good book called The Body Keeps the Score. This is a cool book. It's like, here's how I think about it. There was a lot of roads leading to this book, and I bought it, and then I let it sit on my desk for like 3 years, and then I fucking finally opened it like 2.5-3 years ago. And it was one of those books where it tied a bunch of things together. Like I went through the door on the other side of the road that was leading to this book. And then when I opened the door, there was roads, hundreds of roads leading to other places that I could follow. So I felt stuck. And usually when I feel stuck, I'm like, I'll grab any door just to see what's on the other side. And I was like, I bought this book a long time ago. I'll open it, and boom, it kind of opened this up for me. And they really talked about this amygdala prefrontal cortex idea quite a bit in there. And they were talking about PTSD, people who suffer from PTSD a lot in there too, and how this interacts with them. And so it's a great book. The Body Keeps the Score. I would recommend it a lot, but that's where this came from. All right, the next thing I want to talk about, because this kind of goes into it a little bit, and I can't quite figure this out. And I think about this a lot. Maybe I've talked about it in another podcast, but I was watching Inside Out 2 and with Amelia. Man, she's picking good movies lately. We try and watch, a few movies a week, and she's been on a Pixar roll, and I'm not complaining. That's fantastic. She's a big Toy Story fan too, but Inside Out 2 this week. And there was a place, like, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a scene in there where anxiety is just stuck. There's an emotion called anxiety, and anxiety has her hands on the control board trying to help Riley. And it's powerful. If you've ever had anxiety, this movie hits you really hard because it really they really do a good job. And she's in the middle of an anxiety attack where she's just kind of frozen. Her heart is just pounding a lot, and she's stuck. And joy, the other emotion, goes up to anxiety and goes, you don't get to control, or you don't get to choose who Riley is. And I've seen this movie a few times, but this time it like really hit me as like I'm watching these emotions trying to control who Riley is in this movie. And I'm thinking about this, and I'm watching it, and it really hit me in the feels. Like I got emotional about it because I was like, yeah, your emotions, you need to feel them all. They don't make who you are, no matter what you feel all the time. And I've known this, but I've been running from like sadness and depression for so long. And when I can sit in it, it feels better. And I feel like I did a really good job last year when my dad died. I felt all of it. I just made a conscious effort to do that. But I don't do that in everyday life all the time. And I explain it, again, at these talks. I should practice what I preach. But emotions are like a faucet that you have. And if you want to turn off sadness, you have to turn the faucet off. But in doing so, you turn off all of the emotions because they all come through the same faucet. And so if you want joy or happiness or any of these other feel-good emotions, you have to allow the sadness and despair and grief and all these other things to be there too. You have to allow them the same shot to come through the fountain or come through your faucet. And then I was looking at that, so it's like your emotions, and then I'm watching this movie again, and I'm watching all the things this character is going through, Riley, and I'm like, it's her experiences are shaping who she is. Her friends going to another school, her playing hockey, trying to make the team, her parents, just her environment and her experiences are shaping a lot of who she is. It's creating these patterns, right? What she's learned, and again, I'm looking at my own kid. As I'm watching this, she's like, I hope feels like she's in a safe environment to grow. But I want her to be around other toddlers too, and do that. She's a very social kid and not very good at getting her into things. It's been kind of hard lately, so I'm trying to do that more to just get her into these things. And you think they're going to be good, and you just don't know. So that's scary as a parent. Yet at the same time, I'm also looking at this. And when I meditate, I get into a place where I can go, so there's this idea that your thoughts are just your thoughts, right? You are not your thoughts, you are what experiences them. And you can also go, I am not, so this is where I'm a little tied up. You can also go, I am not my emotions, I am what experiences them. You can also go, I am not my environment or my experiences. I am what experiences those. And so I'm always trying to figure out what's experiencing everything. And I don't have the answer to that. And I think religious people would tell me it's a soul. I don't know, but when you meditate a lot and you sit for like 30 minutes and you get to this space where you're able to watch thoughts come and go, and you're like, these aren't me, these are something else, and emotions come up, and you're like, oh, this is just like sensations in my body. This is strange. This is very weird. And you can feel like cold, and you can feel sound, and then you start to go, sound waves are just like waves. They're literally waves hitting your ears at different intensities to make volume and pitch and things like that. So which is weird because you can meditate and you hear a bird, right? And then this is another weird thing that happens when you meditate. You can sit there and you hear a tweet and your brain immediately goes, bird, before you can even have time to react. And you go, that was an automatic reaction. Is this really a bird I'm hearing? I've just assumed it was. I don't have any evidence besides that tweet, but I am almost certain it is because I have had this experience enough times, right? But you're never 100% sure, right? And I've been duped a few times. I do this car trick where a car will drive by and my brain will go, it's a blue car. And it's driving from left to right because I have a little like street behind our house. And one day I was like, I don't know if that's the color of the car or the direction it's going, or if it's that type of car. So I'd peek during meditation, and I was almost always wrong. Sometimes it was a truck. Sometimes it was going the other direction. Sometimes it was like two cars. Sometimes it was a fucking tractor. So your brain's like, this is what it is, and then you peek and you see if it is, and you're like, oh fuck, that's not what it is at all. This is crazy. And I guess that has helped me, like, with judging other people or prejudging people, going, oh, my brain's just doing this. This isn't me deciding these things. This is something from my past, something from my environment in the past that created some kind of a automatic reaction, like, I don't know what it's called, like a movie, like a tape recorder, some kind of like play button that goes play this every time you hear this sound or see a person like this or someone acts this way, you need to put them into this category. And it's strange. It's strange when you can, like, step back away from that and go, but wait, how is that true? And here's the trick I found with this, is by having that automatic thing, it makes you respond or react to the world faster, so you can move quicker. It's almost like your amygdala, right? It's like something happens and boom, you have this response, this thing that happens in your brain, this judgment or whatever it could be, this reaction. Maybe it's you see somebody who smiles at you and you're like, I like that person. People who smile are great people, which isn't always true either. I mean, I've seen the Joker, right? He smiles a lot in Batman. But anyways, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what is that thing behind all of that? What is the thing watching the thoughts? What is the part of me? Maybe it's not even me. What is the thing experiencing emotions? What is the thing experiencing the environment? What is the thing experiencing these sensations? And can it experience anything more than the five senses? Like, we can only see a little bit of the color spectrum, right? Like, there's other animals who can see different colors than we can, and that's insane, right? Like, there's so much of reality that we can't really see. And again, when I meditate, I come in contact with this thing more, and maybe it's awareness just looking at itself. Maybe it's just awareness seeing its own awareness. I don't know if this makes any sense. I probably sound insane to people who've never meditated before or really looked at this, but that's what I experience when I do that. And so with this said, I was talking about religion last week again. And I had somebody, a pretty good friend of mine, I would say now. She emails me every single week after a podcast with her thoughts on it, and it's been a joy. And she has, I want to bring her on the podcast. I keep trying. Maybe we'll make it work. I'm going to be down in Key West early January. She lives in Florida. Maybe we can make something happen. I don't know, but she has epilepsy. I hope I'm saying this right. And people are always, I guess people have told her a lot that she just needs, like, they'll pray that this will go away. And she always gets a little defensive, like, I have been to the Mayo Clinic. I have had hundreds of surgeries. I have done all these tests. No one can figure it out. And you think a little prayer is going to fix this? And I'm with her on it. It's like when someone says, oh, I'm going to send my thoughts and prayers to the starving children in Gaza or whatever. You're like, yeah, your thoughts and prayers are really going to help. How about you send a little cash or food? That would probably help a little more than those thoughts and prayers. And that's my gut reaction right away. Then there's this other side of me, and she mentioned this to me too. She's like, but, I have to step back and go, it's a nice gesture. It's kind of like when you sneeze and someone says, God bless you. And you're like, hey, appreciate that. Thanks. I just snotted all over myself, but, I don't believe in, you don't go, I don't believe in religion or this God stuff yet. I don't know how I feel about it. You don't start a conversation like that. You see the kind gesture and you go, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks." My buddy Nolan used to yell "science" every time he sneezed, and I thought that was hilarious. But anyways, she said the same thing. She was like, "Yeah, if thoughts and prayers could fix this, I would be thinking and praying about this all the time, and it just doesn't work that way. There's nothing anyone can say or pray enough about that is going to fix this neurological disease in my brain. It's just not going to happen." And I agree with her, and I feel really bad for her. But I keep saying we keep trying to bring her on the podcast. I keep trying to get her on this podcast so we can have these conversations, see what her world is like. I'm genuinely curious what it's like, and she's a fascinating person. So yeah, thoughts and prayers. I guess that's what this whole thing is kind of about. What I've been talking about this whole time is you just I don't want to be so reactive all the time. And it feels good when my logical brain, my prefrontal cortex is activated. And when it is, I'm more kind and compassionate. But my gut reaction is fuck your thoughts and fuck your prayers. But when I can take a breath and operate with my wise mind, it's easier for me to go, "Oh, I appreciate you thinking about that. Having good intentions, you know? Because I've gotten a lot of the same thing with depression and mental health. If you can just think your way out of it, I will pray for you. Oh, fucking thank you. Thank you for the prayers. But thank you for thinking good things about me. I guess I appreciate that too. So yeah, I guess that's been my week. So yeah, next time you see a kid that's afraid of something as a toddler, just be super excited. Their imagination is coming online, and their amygdala is also coming online. And I think it was by around the age 4 or 5, their prefrontal cortex starts developing, and that'll be a whole nother trip. I don't even know what that's going to be like, but. Man, that was another 30 minutes. That was really quick. Hey, thanks for watching, guys. I'll try and have a cool question next week. Or, yeah, I don't know. I love you, I guess. I'm going to try and say that more. Feels weird to say that, too. All right, life's meant to be experienced. Curiosity will get you there.